Hey guys, Clear Blue Realty coming back at you with another video. Hey, do me a favor, hit that like button. I would love to hear your comments. And do me a favor, subscribe. You'll be helping me out. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by August. All right? 10,000 subscribers. I pushed it out to August. You know what? July. 10,000 subscribers by July. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is, and this is to help a lot of the buyers out there and to help real estate agents who are helping buyers. There's some of the key things you need to look out for when you are going to take a look at your home. The home that you say that you want to put an offer in. So your pre-inspection, you need to do a pre-inspection on a home. You need to find out what are some of the issues with a home. You need to be prepared ahead of time so that if you see these signs, you know that this could cost you some money. You know that this is something that you should be alerted to, you should be aware of, that these things could potentially be problems or issues or cost you some money. So the first thing is you find that house, you love that house, and you're like, yeah, I want to put an offer on it. Circle back around, walk up to that house, look at a couple of things. How does the soil slope away from or towards the house? So when the soil, the proper way, the soil should slope away from the base of the house and downwards. So when you go up to a house and you look, on all four sides of that house, the soil should be higher towards the base of the house and then lower as you go away from the house. If it's the other way around, and the soil is lower towards the base of the house or the foundation, and it slopes higher, you're gonna have more than likely problems with water in your basement. So number one is that outside look, and how does the soil tilt away from the house, or does it tilt towards the house? And that's important because that water in the basement could cost you a lot of money. So you don't want to expose yourself to that. Or if you do and you get inside the house and you see, okay, there's no issue with the water in the basement of the house, you want to make sure that you get that corrected as soon as possible, because potentially you could have water in your basement if that continues, if you leave it that way. There's some people who don't have any issue with water in the basement, but the soil is not properly tilted away from the house. That's number one. The other thing is trees. You want to pay attention to trees. You don't want trees being too close to your house. If you have those really tall trees that are close to your house, there's many different things that can happen. I've seen houses where the branches or the leaves are hanging over the house, and you start to see that green mist or green mold building up on the tiles on the house. Number one, it's not a good look, but eventually having those branches and those leaves there is going to cause you issue, because those are going to get in your gutters and go into your downspouts and your drains and eventually clog those things up unless they have gutter covers. So you want to get those trees and those tree branches away from your house. The roots also, if that's a tall tree, those roots go down just as far as and even further than the branches at the top. So those could now push into the foundation of your house and also cause cracks in the foundation and cause water in your basement. So I would advise that if you see trees close to the house, you get those trees trimmed as quickly as possible, and even cut down some of those trees that are too close to your house. Now, like in New Jersey, they will let you cut down the trees if it's on your property, and you don't have to get any municipality approval in order to do that. But it's going to be costly. That's going to cost you some money to get those trees cut down. I've seen it cost like about $2,000 depending on how tall those trees are. So you want to get those trees away from your house. Also, those branches can break off if you have a storm. They can hit your house, damage your tiles, damage your gutters if there's high winds. And there's just too much damage that a tree can do to your house. And that's a reason why you should not have that tree close to your house, okay? So you want to make sure you get those tree situations taken care of, or maybe even pass on the house because the tree is just too close to the house. It's going to be too expensive to cut all those those trees down. All right. So that's number two. So those are some of the things that you need to take consideration into when you're getting a house. The next thing is you also want to look at the roof tiles of the house. You want to make sure that those roof tiles are not raised up and there's a gap between them. If you start to see roof tiles that have a gap between them and the roof tiles are raised up, more than likely that's a sign that the roof tiles need to be replaced, and you could possibly have some leaks in the roof because that water will get underneath the roof tiles and start to cause a problem. So that's one thing. And roof can be pretty expensive. The lowest I've heard of a roof, changing the roof on a house would be about $10,000. So they run about $10,000 and up to replace a roof. All right. Also look at the vinyl siding. If you see damage to the siding of the house, that's also something that's going to have to be repaired. But vinyl siding doesn't tend to be that expensive because you can replace pieces of it. You don't have to replace the whole thing, but keep a lookout for that. So that's the outside of the house. And also, when you start to want to get back to your gutters, if you start to have tree branches and tree limbs and leaves going into your gutter, what can happen is the water will start to overflow on the outside of the house. And if that water starts to overflow and it hits because it's basically just going to go straight down and it's going to hit the foundation, the base of the house where all that water, without all that soil is, eventually that's going to erode the soil and you're going to have that soil start to tilt into the base of the house, and that's how you get water in your basement. So next one is going into the basement. I would say number one, go check that basement. Make sure there's no water in the basement. There's no signs of water. Check and make sure that you don't smell anything when you walk into the basement, walk into the house. I went into a house, this is a couple weeks ago, and when I went into the house, I got a smell. It smelled a little bit like gas and like garbage. And I said, this is strange. Went into the basement, I took a look. For sure, there was like an inch of water in the basement. And that sewage smell they had a bathroom down there that they didn't take care of. And it was just falling apart. And there was probably backed up sewage in the basement. So that's going to be expensive. You start to get water in your basement, it costs a lot of money. You got to get a structural engineer in there to take a look at it and see what the problem is. But these are all expenses that you want to avoid for the most part, not unless you just have the cash like that and you're an investor and you just want to fix the house up. You see some additional profit down the line and it's like, well, this is the cost of this profit, later on down the road, and you just want to get it fixed. But you want to stay away from that. And as a real estate agent, over time, you start to recognize that there are just some things that you pick up. There's some like a third sense in a sense, where what you're doing is you're going inside the house, you're using your eyes, you're using your ears, and you're using your sense of smell. And you're looking out for anything odd that doesn't smell normal. And if you smell something, more than likely that's a bad sign. You shouldn't smell anything but fresh paint and sheetrock when you go inside of a house. And if you smell something else, there's could be old carpet as well, but musty smells. You'll start to know what water smells like. You just pick it up like, that smells like water. So keep that in mind. Those are some skills that you build up as a real estate agent over time. You just pick it up. And you also want to pay attention to cracks in the wall of the foundation. If you see cracks in the foundation, now there's different types of cracks. You have vertical cracks and then you have horizontal cracks. Horizontal cracks are a sign of water pressure. That's a sign of water building up behind the walls of the foundation. And those are pretty serious. You need to get a professional structural engineer in there to take a look at that basement to make sure that there's no issues with water. More than likely, if you have horizontal cracks, there's an issue with water. You want to get those addressed as soon as possible. And that might not be the house for you if you see that. Also, pay attention to look up at the beams in the basement to make sure that there's no damage to the beams. Make sure that there's no signs of insects, termites. You can touch some of those areas in the wood to see if it's brittle, and if it's brittle, more than likely there's some termites infestation in the basement and the beams of that house. Also, pay attention to, after you come out of the basement, pay attention to the windows. How old are those windows? Are those new updated windows? And even if it's not, if the windows are in good condition, you might be fine with keeping those windows. But today's windows, the newer windows, are very energy efficient. So if it's not windows that have been made over the past 5 years, those windows are not going to keep heat in very well. You're probably going to get a little draft through those windows unless you seal up the sides properly. So, and windows can cost anywhere between $100 to $600 depending on the type of window that you get. So you want to make sure that those windows are in good shape, because you probably have maybe 20 or 30 windows within a house. And that cost can add up fairly quickly. Other areas that I pay attention to, the sinks, sink fixtures, faucets. Look underneath the sinks to make sure that there's no leakage from the pipes. Check all the appliances. And that's just opening the fridge, closing it, seeing if it's on. Does it work? Does the stove come on? Does the oven come on? Turn those things on. Run the water in the sink. Make sure you get cold and hot water, because these are all the things that an inspector is going to check. But you're doing a pre-check because you want to know before you make your offer whether these things work or not. Check, like I said, check underneath the sinks. Make sure there's no water leakage. Make sure there's no sign of previous leakage. It might not be leaking that day. And also, let me drop this bit of knowledge on you. It's also a great idea to go take a look at a house when it's raining. The water in the basement might have dried up by then. The leaks in the ceiling might have dried up by then, if you go on a day when it's nice and sunny. But if you go on a day when it's raining, that's not a bad day to go and take a look at a house. Actually, that's one of the best days, because you get to find out if there's any issues with water inside that home. It's a great day to go and check. That's a bit of knowledge for you guys, all right? So check all the appliances, make sure that they work, turn them on. You're inside of a house, you could turn on the microwave, see if it turns on. You can turn on the oven, just don't forget it and leave it on. You can turn on the stove, make sure that the pilot lights and the fire comes on. Check the whole house for signs of cracks. Look up in the ceilings, look up above the door frames, see if you see any cracks, see if you see any cracks by the windows, because that is a sign that if you see any huge cracks or cracks in those areas, that's a sign that the foundation might have some issues. You want to know these things, all right? And that the foundation can be very expensive. Also, take a look at the floors. See if the floors tilt. If you see the floors tilted like this to one side, that's a major issue. That's a major issue probably with the foundation of the house. The house might be sagging. These older homes that are 100 years old or more, they might have issues with either with water, or that the foundation just sagging and it needs more support in the basement. Those beams might need to be replaced. Okay, so these are some of the major things that you want to pay attention to when you do a pre-inspection walkthrough of a home, when you're doing a showing, or when you're walking through a house and you're deciding whether this is going to be the home for you and your family. You don't want to move your family into a house that needs major work. $10,000. Most people don't want to. Investors might want to, and that's a negotiating tool for them when they want to make an offer on the house. Like, okay, well, the house has an issue with the foundation, and it's going to be about $10,000 to fix. I'm going to work that into the price of my offer. All right. But most residential home buyers who are buying a home to live in it don't want to deal with those type of issues. Water, always look for water signs in the ceiling to see if there's water stains. That could be a sign that there's either an issue with a leaky pipe or there's an issue with the roof itself having a issue with the tiles or some other type of leak. All right, guys? So those are my words of advice. Those are some things to look at when you are doing your walkthrough on your homes. Hey, do me a favor, hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Also, want to drop this little bit of knowledge. In my next video, I'll be talking about a company called Acorns. So you have a lot of you buyers who are, or people who are renting, who are looking to buy, and you're looking to get that extra source of money that you can use. I think Acorns is a great idea because what it does is it invests your spare change, and it's called like a roundup. You round up that extra change. So if you spend 50 cents, what Acorns will do, if you have a threshold of $1, it'll round up the dollar and take, if you spend 60 cents, it'll round up that to that next dollar and take that 40 cents and put it in an investment account for you when you have transactions that you pay for and whatever account you connect your account to. So people who have an issue with building up some extra money for like a down payment or for, you know, security deposit, you're looking for an apartment, this is an excellent way to me for you to build up some extra income and build up some extra savings, and it's money that you don't pay attention to. So I'm gonna put my link in here. When you guys sign up, it's gonna give you $5, and it will give you the opportunity to save up that extra money. So you get a free $5 in your account for using my link and signing up. And after you get your account established, you can refer out to other people and make some additional income. Right now, I think they are paying you, I think it's like an additional $100 or $125 if you get somebody, if you get your account established and you sign somebody up. So, hey, it's a great idea. It's a great way of building up some extra income for yourself. And, you know, listen, so guys, I appreciate your time. Keep your head up, stay positive. Check me out on the next video.